polar wandering curve. It's a very important topic, not asked, but these are those possible questions. Polar wandering curve is also called as North Pole wandering hypothesis. North Pole wandering hypothesis. This evidence basically says that this is about study of rocks and glacial deposits and a study of paleomagnetism that shows a possibility of the North Pole migrating across continental distances. The study of rocks and glacial deposits and the study of paleomagnetism that shows the possibility of the North Pole migrating across continental distances. Okay, and just know this, ये जो conclusion है, this has been used by Wegener and also used under modern plate tectonics paleomagnetism studies. The conclusion hai, this was done by Wegener and was also done in the modern plate tectonics under paleomagnetic studies. Difference ye hai कि in the modern studies I'm using this fossil magnetism का conclusions. North है, south है, dip angle है, हम वो सब देख रहे हैं. But when Wegener did it, he had used the evidences of glacial deposits. This is not based on paleomagnetism. It's based on the polar glacial deposits. I hope you got the point here. By poles में there are glacial deposits, right? Glacial till है, moraines याद आ रहा है आपको? Wegener वो पढ़ रहे हैं. So the conclusions arrived were same, but इनका method था through glacial studies. That's why Wegener का study is not paleomagnetic studies. Wegener studies is glacial deposit studies, whereas modern study is based on magnetism. It's something like the place called A, and this man, had been to A. How do I know this? One way is, आप studies यहाँ इनके footprint यहाँ पर रखे. The second way is, I'm seeing his Google Map का app that tells me he was here. ठीक है? ये दोनों वाला techniques होगा ना? But both conclude man was at A. So Wegener is studying the footprints, which is the glacial deposits. Tectonic is studying, वो app वाला, studying more detailed scientific ones based on magnetism. But both conclude the same. Because Wegener के time में, we did not know so much about magnetism. कुछ initial discussions होता होगा maybe, but not as much. Paleomagnetism is a very recent branch, which is far more profound than what Wegener had given us. But दोनों का conclusion नहीं था. Now, before I explain that, पहले आप सुन लो इसको आप पहले. See what's happening. So imagine this is the earth here, and some place जहां पर हो रहा है volcanism हो रहा है. Imagine I have a volcanic plateau. So volcanic plateau में, there's a layer called as A, there's a layer called as B, the layer called as C. ये अलग-अलग layers of volcanic rocks हैं. And I am studying each rock. I find this rock A, say 500 million years old. It is showing, the North Pole to be like this. So this was the North Pole. Another rock layer, which is ये ठंडा होके preserve हो गया. The next eruption may be 300 million years ago, and this shows कि ये था North Pole. So it looks like this was the North Pole. Then this layer is probably 50 million years old. And this shows, okay, कि इसका North Pole शायद ऐसे था, somewhere here. And this one shows the North Pole was here, which is presently. So this was a rock 5 million years old. This is a rock 300 million year old. This is a rock 100 million years old. And this is a present rock. I go to a place, it's a very large plateau. There are layers of basaltic rock. Think of Deccan lava plateau. इस layers में अलग-अलग layer अलग-अलग orientation दिखा रहे हैं. Okay, this is the old, because see, volcanism can happen over millions of years. I've taken an example with a bit of exaggeration, but generally होगा 1-2 million years old, 4-5 million years old, pass हो गए in geological scales. So if I find this pattern, what does it mean? एक meaning ये है कि 500 million years ago, the North Pole was here, and over years, the North Pole has migrated and has now come here. ये mean करता है ये वाला? ठीक है? All got the point here? So if I look at this, if I look at the landform and study the magnetic orientation and I plot on a map, it looks like the North Pole has been migrating from here to here. I go to another place. यहाँ पर, okay, if I plot, it looks like the North Pole was probably here and it has now come from here to here. ये अलग हो गया. एक और जगह गए. That shows कि North Pole probably moved from here to here. These are called as the wandering North Pole curves. ये एक curve है, एक line draw किया मैप में कि ऐसे move कर रहा है, कुछ और जगह ऐसे move कर रहा है, कुछ और जगह ऐसे move कर रहा है. This was a very difficult thing to understand. What happened? Now we know it is not the North Pole moving, because the reality is North Pole moves but maybe slightly wobbles. Remember, बताया मैंने कल आपको? The slight shift. The North Pole does not move across continents like this. How and why we know that? We accept it. Some way we know that. तो ये curve बना कैसे? ये curve इसलिए बना. Okay, now imagine this. This was always the North Pole. For example, I've taken. And some eruption here. And the layer of rock erupting probably is oriented like this. Some years from now, okay, ये ऐसे rotate हो गया because of continental drift. When rotated, this has now become like this. The new layer is like this. तो ये वाला यहाँ पर आ गया. Again, there is rotation. Okay. When again rotation, the old layer शायद यहाँ पर है. This is here. The new layer is here. So this shows like this. This shows like this. And this shows like this. Is it possible like this? So what you are preserving is not the North Pole changing. What are you preserving? You're preserving how the rock has rotated. इसके ऊपर में, when they see the dip angle, this shows a dip angle of 20 degrees south. This shows a dip angle of maybe 40 degrees north. This shows a dip angle of 70 degrees north. मतलब क्या हुआ? That this rock itself has moved from 20 south towards 70-80 north. So एक rock move कर रहा है और rotate भी कर रहा है. कहीं और rock is moving in some other direction. That's why इसका curve ऐसे है. In this case, rock ऐसे घूम रहा है. So the polar wandering curves I have is not because of North Pole moving. Is not because of the earth having many north and south poles. It's because of the rocks are rotating and the rocks are moving because of continental or crustal drift. आपका आंसर में इतना ही लिखना है. So there are anomalies in the rocks that don't match with the patterns outside. यही discussion even Wegener had done. But Wegener did not use paleomagnetism. What did he use? The study of the glacial deposits. So North Pole ka deposits mila unko. And how he knows a polar deposit hai? So that's some other aspect of geomorphology. So Wegener had the same conclusions. That's why, okay, this is also a part of the Wegener's evidences. But those evidences were not on paleomagnetism. They're based on the glacial studies.